Ah, Michael, your new ninja name shall be Tum Tum.
That's stupid. What other kind of ninja names do you have, Grandpa?
Well, I wasn't really prepared here, but let me take a look. Skittle Samurai.
What?
The Nutella Ninja.
Grandpa, are you serious?
Baby Ruth Black Belt.
This is stupid. I hate these.
How about Yu Kang?
Oh, I hate all these names, Grandpa. Just call me Tum Tum.
Why is it always the fat ones are complainers?
Welcome to another episode of Good Times with Bad Movies. I'm Paul Ireland. Joining me as always is my lovely co-host, Tim Morrison. How are you, buddy?
I'm great. How you doing, Paul?
Tim, like the great Bryan Adams once said, I'm ready, okay? I am ready to talk about a beloved childhood movie of mine. To this episode, we're actually talking about 1992's Three Ninjas from Touchstone Pictures. And this is an absolute childhood favorite of mine.
Yeah, this movie's awesome. I remember going to the theater to see this, and I had it on VHS.
So maybe we'll give a quick synopsis here in case you haven't seen this absolute gem of a movie. Three Ninjas is about three kids who have been taught karate by their grandfather and must save the day when his arch nemesis sends kidnappers their way.
I feel like this is like following the trend of movies that were like really popular in the early 90s where kids beat up adults. Adults try to kill children, and the children end up foiling their plans using toys and other kinds of homemade weapons.
Yeah, that's like that's a big theme about putting kids in harm's way in the 90s, apparently.
Ever since Home Alone.
I think I've seen this billed as Home Alone meets Ninja Turtles, and I think that's like a fairly accurate description of what this movie is.
You could say Home Alone meets ninjas. I don't know why that has to be Ninja Turtles. Or a kid-friendly thing. Yeah, I could see that, actually. Never mind.
Yeah, it's like a fun movie, but, you know, like no one really gets hurt in the end of this, but they all have swords and stuff too, and they don't really seem to stab anybody with them. So it's kind of like Ninja Turtles in that way, but also Home Alone in the sense that they're throwing like CDs at people's faces and stuff as well too, right? So, you know, and jelly beans as well too. So you're getting that sort of kid level assault on adults, which is always hilarious.
Yeah, everyone loves seeing kids get really nasty and mean.
Maybe we should explain something there too, real quick here, because there is a couple versions of Three Ninjas floating around out there as well too.
So that makes a lot of sense. When we first mentioned that to me, I thought that I had actually seen the original one that wasn't edited, but I was wrong. This version that we're talking about here is the one that I grew up watching, that I had on VHS.
Yeah. This is the one that I know near and dear. This one is the OG. This is the one that I grew up watching. And I didn't realize there was actually two cuts of this until probably a couple years ago. I moved. So when I went to my new house, I had, I guess, lost my DVD of Three Ninjas. I was pretty upset, and I was like, I want to watch this movie again. Which is
you gotta hate it when that happens.
Yeah, no one ever said that in their life, but except me. And I went to iTunes and I just downloaded the digital one, and I was like, this is not the same movie. Within 3 seconds, I knew this wasn't the same movie. Just the little subtle things that were changed, and it was such a disappointment. So this episode, Tim and I are actually going to watch the original domestic cut here. There's an hour and 25 minutes, and this is the one that I think everybody should be watching anyways. So I don't know, what do you say? Let's just jump into Three Ninjas, Tim.
Hi-ya. So this movie starts out in the summertime in between school, and these three brothers are spending the summer at their grandfather's cabin. It's like a cottage in the woods, it kind of looks like. It looks very isolated. And every day they wake up to their grandfather crawling over on their bed, getting on top of them and poking them in the face with little leaves. It sounded so much funnier when I said it out loud.
When you break it down like that, yeah, it sounds really creepy and really it's a little more than that. It's like a ninja test, you know. It's more like, can you wake up at a gentle sound? Or a gentle little touch, you know, not like some weird thing where some old guy standing over you with a stick like, hey kid, you want some candy?
So every morning after he wakes them up, they all go outside and he basically puts them through boot camp type of exercises and then teaches them the art of ninja. But their grandfather's teachings are kind of funny. Like at some point he's throwing tennis balls at one of them and they're just like using a pair of nunchucks to bat them out of the way. Or he's sitting on like tires chained together and they're like pulling him up a hill on dirt and rock and stuff. Looks pretty hard. And at some points, it seems like they're legitimately trying to kill each other too. He has one of the children wear a blindfold and balancing on this giant log. You don't really see what's under it, so I don't know how big of a fall it actually is. But yeah, the grandfather's trying to knock him out. But the oldest one, Rocky, he gets the better of him and hits Grandpa in the face and he falls off the log onto a rock. And then the test continues throughout the day. So later on in the day, when Grandpa is arriving back home, he's not quite on his property yet, I guess, and he's driving, and out of nowhere, these 3 ninjas jump out of the trees and on top of the car. He's in a convertible, by the way, and it's his 3 children, obviously, but they're wearing like black ninja uniforms with hoods, and they're legitimately trying to kill him. They're throwing ninja stars at him. But Grandpa throws down this smoke bomb that barely puts off any smoke, is clearly edited, and then he's just gone. And the smoke clears, and the kids are like, where is he? And then they look up, and he's sitting like Humpty Dumpty in a tree branch, and like giggling and laughing at them. And by the way, the moves that this grandfather has are amazing. I'm just going to take a guess and say that this actor here is 65 years old at this point. Maybe even a little bit older. Yeah, he's moving like someone from Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's only because you can clearly see as Grandpa is doing his scenes here, it's a horrible stunt double that we're going to see in this movie. It's a younger guy who's got like a gray wig on and a pillow under his stomach. It looks so funny. This guy, when you stop sometimes and you see him, he actually, I mean, most people outside of Canada probably aren't going to get this reference, but he kind of looks like David Suzuki.
I could see that.
This guy kind of looks like David Suzuki. Okay, and you'll see later on in this, when some bad guys show up, he's showing them the nature of things.
The wig really stands out every single time. Like, it's not a very good wig. It does not look like the actor's hair.
No, it's like a gray Frankenstein haircut. That's what it looks like. Just a very loose fitting wig on this guy. It doesn't look proper at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's stuck up in this tree and he's just kind of chirping them a bit. It doesn't make any sense because he smashes this thing. He would have to immediately jump up like 20 feet into this tree.
Oh, he'd have to be a monkey.
Yeah, it doesn't, like, even the kids would have seen this guy run away.
Yeah, he'd have to move up there like a spider monkey.
Yeah, I don't know how he would do this. It's good for Victor Wong, though. Apparently, he's a very limber young man. The tender age of 65.
Later on, he decides to introduce the children to the ceremony of names, as he calls it. And these are ninja names, individual ninja names for each of these kids. I'm not even going to go over what their original names are because you're not going to hear them for the rest of the movie. So, the youngest one, his name is Tum Tum because he likes a lot of candy in his belly. The middle child is named Colt because he's free-spirited like a horse. And the third one is named Rocky because that's a true ninja name and he's solid like a rock. When did Rocky become a ninja name? Isn't that a boxing name?
Oh yeah, for sure. But what is Colt and what is Tum Tum? Those aren't ninja names. Tum Tum kind of sounds like it could be a ninja name.
I could see Tum Tum. I could see like a sumo wrestler that knows ninja and his name's Tum Tum.
Yeah, or like an old sensei, Master Tum Tum. None of these really sound like ninja names, like I said, but I think this is more maybe the American version of the names of like ninja names. You know what I guess? It's like the cool version anyways, at least.
Colt is definitely an American name, I would think. If you're going to use it for a ninja.
But he's like the coolest guy in this movie too, I think, anyways. Out of all the 3 ninjas that you could be, I think Colt is probably the most popular. He's got to be.
You think?
You think so? You don't think so? What? Who's your favorite? Do you like your Rocky guy?
Rocky.
Really?
Of course.
All right, well, Rocky's not bad, but yeah, like Colt's
Colt's a little brat, and I'll show you. I'll point it out when he's a little brat when we get to it.
He's like Raph. He's a loose cannon, all right?
I wouldn't say that Raphael of the 4 Ninja Turtles is like the nicest one or anything at all.
No, Raphael is like, he
gets like, doesn't he get like taken hostage and beaten up in every movie too?
Well, no. Well, in the first one he does.
And the second one he does too.
I think this Mikey. Well, does he? No, maybe he does.
No, he gets tied up to something.
Fair enough. He did get caught, but I don't think maybe not in the third one he did. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Like Raph is like a loose cannon. He's just the guy who's gonna kick some ass. You know what I mean? And he's also a surly individual, fairly antisocial. I maybe identify with Raph in some aspects of my life. Doesn't say a lot about me, but there you go.
After these kids get their names, one of them comments to the other, "I can't wait to tell Dad our new names." The older one, Rocky, says, "Dad's going to hate them because his dad just doesn't approve of learning ninja."
It sounds like there is some tension between the kid's dad and Grandpa. We don't really explain what the tension is other than he doesn't like them doing martial arts. Meanwhile, he is an FBI agent and he is now about to go to a weapons deal. So we just got to play you a clip here. We really need to just to set this up here, just set the scene and paint you a picture of what's going to happen here. So this limo shows up to a warehouse and a gentleman steps out. And I guess for lack of a better term, we're going to say this man looks like they're setting him up to be a Middle Eastern gentleman who is apparently
Middle Eastern terrorist.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, it looks like they're stereotyped this guy a little bit, A
little bit. They totally did. It's not even, you're like apologizing for your part of trying to say what they did. We didn't do nothing wrong.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. We got to represent this movie pretty accurately. It's true. This dude steps out. And if you were going to paint a picture of the most obvious person you were going to say is a Middle Eastern terrorist, you would say this gentleman is the man who steps out. You'd be like, okay, this guy I see. But again, this guy looks like he's probably Italian. He's got a really thick mustache. Maybe he's Spanish. I don't know. He doesn't look Middle Eastern to me, but whatever. I didn't cast him. Anyways, he is going to now go face to face with the main antagonist of this movie, Hugo Snyder. And he's also going to now sort of spring the trap on him and let him know that he is really an FBI agent.
On behalf of the people of my country, I would like to say you're under arrest. Open fire!
There were so many crazy. So that sound you heard at the very end was Snyder just punching him in the face because the guy was just standing there laughing at him. Okay, first off, that guy totally lost his job. That's one of the worst FBI agents I've seen. And we're going to see some pretty bad FBI agents in this movie. And the way they did it, the way they arrested him, like the whole setup, it was like they were actually going to, they planned this for a long time. And their surprise arrest on him was almost like a candid camera reveal. And then he punches him in the face and just uses his body as a shield. And every FBI agent is standing there with their guns drawn. There's probably like 10 or 15 of them with guns pointed at this bad guy. And out of nowhere, all these ninjas drop from the ceiling and take out all of the FBI agents.
Yeah, and there's like a whole melee that breaks out now. And I just real quick, I don't want to forget this. Just like I really like how that guy laughs at Snyder. Like, what are you supposed to be an FBI agent or a 12-year-old?
Yeah, and that's the kind of like a tune that he should be doing like an Irish jig to or something.
Yeah, it was like they had Jamie Kennedy dress up as Borat or something. They're like, whoa, you're in trouble now.
So this whole scene kind of just it goes in a weird direction. You don't really know what happened. The bad guy runs to the roof of the building, and he's followed by Douglas here, the father of the 3 children we met earlier. He's pointing a gun at him and telling Snyder to freeze. And this helicopter with a whole bunch of other bad guys, and they have machine guns. They just start unloading on Douglas. So he jumps back in the building, and Snyder is flown away hanging on this ladder. They're just standing there watching him go down this, like, I don't know where they are. This looks like San Francisco or something. So like, it's not like there's nothing else in the sky. You can clearly see this guy being carried, this guy hanging from a helicopter, just going in an aimless direction for infinity. And all the FBI agents are like, God darn it, we lost him.
Yeah, I mean, I love this. This is so stereotypically 90s, you know what I mean? You're putting kids in harm's way. FBI agents are shooting people and dudes are flying away in helicopters. Like, this is awesome.
It's a lot of action.
Sam Douglas is pissed off because he wants Snyder. That is not what he wants. He wants to catch this guy. Even though he's got all his stuff, he needs Snyder. Snyder and him, for some reason, are enemies. We don't really know why. I guess there must have been some sort of, long-standing struggle between the FBI and Hugo Snyder, it sounds like.
Well, he's selling missiles. Like he can't do that, and the FBI don't like that. Right after that, we go to Snyder's headquarters, I guess, which is some random office somewheres, and he's complaining to his assistant about how they foiled him, and he didn't get the money that he wanted in that little deal there a bit ago. And we find out that Snyder was business partners with the children's grandfather. I'm only saying that slow because this gets more and more confusing as it goes along.
So the kids now are prepping for dinner here, and they're getting stuff ready, and it looks like this might be one of their last meals before they go back to the city for the school year, it sounds like. And they're getting dinner ready, and it looks like Grandpa's on the phone, and he's talking to their mom, and Colt comes by with a photo, and he says, "Hey, like, Grandpa, who's this in the photo here?" And he's just, because I guess he just found this photo out of nowhere for some reason, and it's his grandpa with his grandma, and there's another hand there, and they can't see who it is. So he asked him who it is, and he says, it's no one, don't worry about it. He's on the phone. It seems kind of busy. Meanwhile, they're cooking dinner and stuff. While they sit down for dinner here, they're all kind of get in. They put their hands in together in sort of like a little huddle here, sort of like a woe bundy, but not a woe bundy. It's what Grandpa calls 4 strands of rope. It's just the idea that one strand of rope is easy to break, where 4 strands put together are tougher. So just you're with your brothers. Be nice to your brothers, and you're stronger together than you are apart. Meanwhile, there's sort of this. It's almost like a little bat signal kind of thing that happens. There's a little,
it's totally a bat signal. It's a ninja mask signal.
Yeah, there's like this little demon mask on the wall, and the eyes kind of light up on it, and they start flashing. And there's like a limo shows up, and then out of this limo jumps like 20 ninjas. For some reason, this limo is like a ninja clown car. I think that is the best way to explain what happens here. Just like and they're all like jumping out with knives and swords, and then out steps Hugo Snyder, and they all sort of surround Grandpa here, and there's a bit of a standoff, and the tension is building up to a point until Tum Tum comes out of nowhere and stabs one of the ninjas in the fork with like a little salad tong. And then that's it. It's go time, baby. Now everybody is fighting everybody. And it looks like Grandpa's horrible stunt double is kicking ass. David Suzuki is out there taking names.
Yeah, and the kids are kicking these ninjas' butts as well. Like they've got nothing on these kids. These same ninjas that just took out the FBI cannot beat up these 3 children.
Yeah, right? Okay, so let me ask you, how old do you think Rocky, Colt, Tum Tum, how old do you think all these kids are?
I know that Rocky is supposed to be the oldest one, but Colt looks like he's probably the oldest one in real life. But you mean in the movie, right? Like how old they're supposed to be in the movie?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll say that Rocky is, I don't know, the oldest one looks like 12, if that.
Really?
Like maybe, 12, give or take 12. And the middle child, Colt, he looks older than the one who's supposed to be the oldest child, but I'd say he's probably 12 or 13. Like, they look like they could be the same age. Tum Tum looks like he might be like 7 years old.
Yeah, right. I don't think Tum Tum. I would say Tum Tum. I'm gonna take a guess. Maybe he's 10. Maybe he's not. I don't know how old you are when you're 7. Like, it's hard to guess. I don't remember how tall I was when I was 7 or what I looked like. The other two kind of look like they're like 13, 12, 13, 14, somewhere in that age range, I think, too. Yeah, it's weird that they are somehow able to just manhandle these grown adults with swords who are just like, you would think they're fully developed men, right? And somehow they're just dispatching these guys with just ease.
How many flower pots do you think their grandfather has on his property?
This is like Zelda. The amount of the flower pots that are getting broken here.
I feel like we've just in like the first like 10 or 15 minutes of this movie, we've seen like 30 flower pots like just smashed for practice and for an actual real fights.
It seems like Grandpa probably owned a garden center instead of like a karate studio or anything like that. You know, I don't know, but it doesn't matter because they're smashing pots off people's heads and just kicking ass. And eventually, that's it. The clown car is empty now. All the ninjas are done. And Hugo Snyder walks out and gives Grandpa a bit of a clap, and they sort of meet on the bridge now. And they're having a little one-on-one time here. So the long and the short of it is that Hugo Snyder wants Mori to train his guys in the art of ninjutsu. Because it sounds like Mori and Hugo Snyder were business partners at one point. So this is where I will say there was a main difference in the movie here between the domestic and international versions. In the international version, there is a scene where they sort of have a bit of an extended dialogue here. And Hugo Snyder says, you made a bunch of money off of those karate studios. So it sounds like Mori had some studios and these guys just showed up and he would train them and Hugo paid the bills. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. It doesn't really sound like it's much more than that. They make it sound worse than it is. But there's a lot of questions there.
Did Mori Tanaka train Snyder? And it's like, you know, your apprentice has become the bad guy, kind of like Anakin Skywalker.
I think Mori trained Hugo and he's also trained his men before. And now he wants him to train his men again, I guess. So with that being said, did Grandpa know that he was training these guys to go and be like mercenaries or whatever? And now he's being all high and mighty about it? Or was it just like he had like 300 guys show up to his studio and he's like, and then this guy, Hugo Snyder, was just paying for it all the time. And then he's just like, who are these guys? Like, just my buddies that I met down at Costco. Like, how are you going to play that off? You know what I mean? It doesn't really make any sense. So Grandpa's either stupid or he was a bad guy at one point, and now he's just like Grandpa and he's out of the game. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's the story we want to see, is like Grandpa before this. And he was like deep into this, like it was Breaking Bad.
There's another layer to this that kind of makes it more complicated, in that Snyder is asking Mori Tanaka to make his son-in-law FBI agent, whom Snyder just had the confrontation with earlier, to just like mind his own business and lay off for a few weeks. In this world, this terrorist, whom was like just inches away from being caught by this FBI agent, he escapes, and then within like an hour, maybe, he is visiting this FBI agent's children and trying to kill them. And their grandfather doesn't say anything.
That's a fair observation.
So after Mori Tanaka has declined to help Snyder, him and his henchmen leave. And then we go on to the last bit of practice that we're going to see at Grandpa's cabin. And he shows them, he takes out this dummy. He kind of looks like a scarecrow with red eyes that light up when you kick him in certain places. And there's like 7, I didn't actually count how many points there are that he shows them to hit. It seems like 7. So like they're kind of like, I guess, hot spots on the body, you know, punch somebody in the neck, near the joints. And the very last one is a direct kick to the groin.
Yeah. This guy kind of looks like an angry Pillsbury Doughboy or like a weird Scottish golfer. That's what I thought that dummy looked like.
Paul, have you ever seen karate practices where they teach the students to kick people in the groin?
I don't know. No, I mean, like, maybe they teach you that in karate. I'm assuming self-defense, they teach you that. That's a no-brainer to anybody.
So now we're back at Snyder's office, and he's here with his assistant. And Snyder has come up with the idea to kidnap Mori Tanaka's 3 grandchildren. And he asks for his assistant to find some kidnappers. And his assistant says that his nephew and his dumb buddies can probably handle it. So now we cut to these 3 henchmen in a convenience store looking at a magazine called Surfer Chicks. These people are to the T stereotypical early 90s radical tubular surfer dudes. What are their, Paul, do you know what their names are? The head one, whom is the nephew, his name is Fester.
I have a couple questions about this because in about a minute from now, in the movie, Mr. Brown is going to get into contact with this guy, Fester, okay? And he calls him to me, it sounds like he says Mr. Festin, like Festin, Festin.
That's exactly what it sounds like, yes.
But in the movie, like everybody else calls him Fester, and then at the end, it's in the credits, he's credited as Fester, okay? So I'm wondering, is his name Fester Festin? Does that, like, why would you name your kid Fester Festin? That would hurt my brain a lot. These three guys, okay, we need to talk about what they look like, Tim. I don't know if you had taken time to sit here and describe, because I felt like it's important, because we're going to be with these guys through a large chunk of this movie we're going to see here. And I just kind of want to describe what these guys look like to people if they haven't had the pleasure of already watching this amazing movie. So there's three guys. The lead guy is named Fester or Festin, maybe Fester Festin, I'm going to guess his name is.
I'm just going to call him Fester.
So to me, this guy kind of looks like he's Fred Durst with like long black hair and a goatee. That's what I think this first dude kind of looks like, okay? There's a guy right now to the left of him, and he's got blonde hair, and his name is Marcus, okay? And to me, this guy, again, kind of looks like Spicoli, but with not Sean Penn's nose. I think that's the nicest way I could say that.
Yeah, and probably like 8 years older.
Yeah. And this last guy to the right of Fred Durst there, his name is Hammer, okay? He kind of looks like, to me, Darlene's boyfriend from Roseanne. David?
Oh, okay, yeah. He looks like him, yeah. This guy, the blonde hair guy, he looks like Conan O'Brien with long hair.
Yeah! Whoa! You're right. He's Coco with blonde hair. That is amazing. I totally see that.
So they're here in this convenience store, and they decide to just rob it. And as they're robbing it, the head guy here, Fred Durst, Fester, his beeper goes off. And then he politely asks to use their phone. Long story short, they have until midnight, either tonight or tomorrow. It's midnight tomorrow to secure these children.
Yeah, it's some sort of weird little contract he's put out on these kids.
So these goons, they've got the orders here, and they get into their van that looks like an old hippie van, and on the front of it says "Die Yuppie Scum." Why? And like they made this movie makes a point. Like the director obviously was like, focus in and make sure you get that name on the front of the van. What's that all about?
So a yuppie is it's a term. It was like hipster before hipster. It means young urban professional.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
So
okay.
like if you would like hipster before hipsters, they hate hipsters. You know what I mean? Because you can see the one dude's like the Conan O'Brien dude. He's just like the stone surf all the time, like dude, and all he says is dude. And the other guy, he's also like he smoked a little less weed than Marcus, it seems like. And the other guy is always wearing Metallica shirts. So he is just like metal to the extreme, right? And I love that you'll see too in the movie, he's just like putting Metallica stickers on stuff, and it's hilarious. I love this guy, Hammer.
Did you ever see the movie Airheads?
Yes.
He reminds me of the trio in that movie that took over the radio show.
Yes, that definitely get that vibe from even just all these guys. They're just an absolute bunch of idiots. These guys are so dumb.
You mentioned something that drove me crazy, man. How much they say dude. Holy crap. It brought back memories of watching Dude, Where's My Car? But they probably say it more in this movie. It's just so much. The two things in this movie that drove me crazy were dude and hiya. These kids yell hiya before every move. So when they strike a pose, they go hiya, and they strike a karate pose. They're constantly voguing karate and saying hiya.
Yeah, but like that's just like Power Rangers too. It's you have to enunciate every hit. That's how you get the force in it. You go hiya.
So these three dummies here, they're scoping out their home here at night, and they see the father come home and with a bunch of agents, and they've all got FBI jackets on, and they're like, "Oh crap, he's FBI." And they're like, "Don't worry about it. We'll figure this out tomorrow." They're not fazed at all by the notion of kidnapping 3 children, let alone 3 children whom their father is in the FBI. He's an agent.
Yeah, well, I mean, they also just kind of robbed a convenience store at gunpoint in the middle of the daytime and sat around eating chips on a desk too, right? So they don't think they're not, it sounds like they're pretty used to crime. They seem on one hand sort of like small time little crooks. And on the other hand, they're willing to do something like kidnap 3 kids of an FBI agent, which is not a great move professionally, I think, if you want to try to stay out of jail. But, you got to get that bread any way you can. So I guess that's what it is.
So after they're finished scoping out the place, they decide that they're going to leave and go make another plan and go and come back and try and kidnap these kids the next day. Then we go to the next morning and we see these 3 kids, these 3 boys running around the kitchen getting ready for school. It's a big commotion. The mom can't keep up with it. There's a knock at the door and they open it and there's this girl named Emily whom Colt and Tum Tum have been teasing Rocky about because he's got a crush on her and she's got a crush on him. They keep making fun of him with this song.
Rocky loves Emily. Rocky loves Emily. I loved it.
I'll tell you, of everything, it's funny the things that stick out in your memory from movies, because that's something that I've remembered my entire life. Just like that, Rocky loves Emily.
Anytime I have mentioned this movie to people, that is immediately the first thing that they say, or sing, I guess, really, is Rocky loves Emily. It is like so iconic for whatever reason. That is the thing that sticks out in people's mind. I guess it's almost like a little jingle. You hear that, it's hilarious. It's amazing because they just rip on this kid. They don't rip on him. They tease him. I understand that this movie is goofy and the writing is ridiculous at some parts, but I really appreciate the writing between the brothers and their interactions and stuff. To me, it really feels like they honestly captured a bit of that camaraderie you would have, and also that competition where you razz each other a bit, but you're like, it's, you give your brother a hard time, but it's your little brother. You look after him, you know what I mean? And I think they really did a really good job of showing that and kind of portraying that in this movie.
Yeah, I think that's a testament to these 3 kids as actors. Like, they obviously have really good chemistry with each other.
Yeah, they really seem like their brothers. Like, that's why it's like they gel really well in this. I don't know how. I mean, I guess because they made the first movie already, so they already would have been on set for a couple months with each other, and they probably would have been almost like brothers at that point. Yeah. Maybe potentially, I don't know. But you can see that there is a bit of chemistry between them, and I think that's why they made a couple of these movies. They kind of worked.
Yeah, that's probably the nicest thing we've said about any of these movies.
Well, I mean, like these kids are like legit.
Like a testament to their ability to do karate. Like maybe these kids aren't like professionally I don't know. These kids actually do move.
I did a little bit of digging in that, and I was thinking about mentioning that earlier, but maybe I'll bring this up now. The actual actor who plays Colt, he was on someone's podcast, and I was listening to it, and he mentioned that at this point in time, when he first auditioned for 3 Ninjas, he was already doing karate, and apparently Rocky was also doing karate too. And apparently they both still do karate to this day as well too. Or at least I think Rocky still does. But they actually went and choreographed some of their fight scenes as well too. That's what he said. So they like when you watch the movie and you watch these kids fight, it's not an actual stunt double. It's these kids. So it actually gives it it gives a bit of more of an air of legitimacy and makes it look like these kids actually could be kicking ass. Another thing that happens while they're biking to school here is the boys cut off into this construction site, and Emily doesn't want to go in there because, she just doesn't want to start biking over an open construction site like an idiot. So she's the only smart one. And the kids they're popping little wheelies and stuff, and they're biking away. And so she gets split off with them. And what happens is this shot of basically Emily with her head down now, like she's just biking with her head on. She's biking in the road. No helmet, just head down, not looking at anything. And she just runs into a bunch of kids with their bikes. They're just sitting there. And she looks up, and we come to see, just through the music and the tone that's set here, these are the bullies of the neighborhood or the school or something. They're obviously not kids you want to run into if you're 12 years old and have a pink bike. So what happens is Emily gets her bike stolen, and the kids show up just a little too late. And she is upset.
You just totally reminded me of something that happened when I was young. Like, I was biking down. I went up to see one of my friends, and he wasn't home, so I ended up just biking home. And I was going down a hill, and I was just like looking the opposite. I just wasn't looking straight ahead at all, and I slammed in like head on into a truck that was parked. and there was 2 people in the truck. And I like slammed off and fell off of my bike, and I ran into the truck so hard that my wheel was wedged under like the truck. It was still like in a vertical position, and I had to like yank my. It was so awkward with these 2 people in the truck, and they were like, there was no other cars around, no other traffic. That was like the only car parked on anywhere on the side of the street. Like, how the hell did you do that? Oh, that damn kid.
Sorry. Obviously, you're okay though, right? you
oh
survived,
yeah, no, I didn't hurt myself. Not that time. So after that's over, we get some music here that it's like it almost sounds like the Halloween movie soundtrack, where it's like, and we're following Grandpa around in his convertible. He's spying on Snyder. Okay, so he's been following this limo around. The limo stops at this wharf here, this giant shipyard, and it's I guess I assume that Snyder owns one of these giant, what looks to be like a military type boat, the type of boat that we would see Steven Seagal on, like fighting crime and stuff. This is in broad daylight. Okay, so this old man is following around this terrorist in broad daylight with a pair of binoculars in a convertible. And he stops on a wharf where he's the only car sitting there. The more this movie goes on, the more I kind of feel like there's subtle hints that Mori Tanaka has dementia.
It's like, I thought ninjas were supposed to be subtle, right?
Yeah.
This guy's just driving around in the middle of daylight, just showing up like 40 feet from where their gate is and just like hanging out with little binoculars. Like, oh, there they are. Okay, so here is an interesting thought I had. Because the reason that these surfer guys are hired to kidnap Rocky, Colt, and Tum Tum is because the FBI is watching Snyder, okay? Here's the problem with this. After they mention this, Mr. Brown then like picks up their phone, their landline, okay? Right? You would think if the FBI is watching you, they'd probably be tapping your phone, But he picks up the landline and he dials out to this guy, Festin, whatever his name is, and the 2 other guys. And then he goes, hey, can you kidnap these very specific kids for me? His verbiage too, 3 very specific kids. And then he gives them the address and tells them the kids. You think the FBI would kind of, I don't know, have a leg up on you at this point. But no, I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. And then here's the next thing. If the FBI is still watching them, right, they then leave their house, okay, in the limo that the FBI would be watching, probably, right? With their eyes and binoculars, following you around, trailing you around. If you're some bad guy trying to sell missiles, okay? They then leave the house and go to his little floating headquarters where he's got like 400 guys and his weapons. Like in the middle of daylight. This guy is like the worst criminal ever. He should already be caught.
Okay, so I think that there's an assumption there that I've made that maybe you haven't. They're looking for Snyder. They don't know where he is because he keeps getting away from them, right? So that's why they're not. I don't think they're actually doing surveillance on him. That's why this grandpa is out there. He's doing surveillance on him. But the FBI don't know. The FBI don't actually know where Snyder is at this point, because surely they wouldn't have allowed Snyder to go and visit his own children at his grandfather's house, right?
Well, these are the worst FBI agents ever then, because they've shown up to their kid's grandpa's house, okay, and threatened him. But also, this guy lives in town somewhere. Like, he just drives out of his house. Maury knows where he lives. How does Maury know where he lives? I mean, we know how he knows where he lives because they were partners. But there's something else that we're going to get to in a minute here that still makes me think they know there's a connection there. So they would know where this guy is. They have to. Anyways, we're going to cut ahead now. So we go ahead and it's the evening now. And it looks like the parents are going out for dinner, or they're going out to a movie or something like that. I think that's the gist of what's happening. They're leaving the house for a couple hours, and Rocky, Colt, and Tum Tum are going to have a babysitter show up here in a second. And this babysitter, when she showed up, I was trying to think of what I could describe what she looks like. I think not to be rude to this lady, but I think the best thing I could say is it's a bulldog with a hairnet and curlers. If that's basically what this lady is.
That teacher, the bad teacher in Matilda with a shower cap.
I was thinking also too, who is that lady in that old lady in Monsters Inc? She's like, Wazowski, get over here. But the human version of that, okay? Just like this, the worst babysitter. You're like, this party's over. So Colt is in his dad's office now, and his mom comes in and tells him, that they're leaving in a minute and better behave yourself and all that kind of stuff. And he's kind of upset because it seems like his dad is preoccupied with this guy, Snyder. And Colt asks him a question. He says, who is this bad guy? And for some reason, the mom knows that there is just this folder in front of Colt here that has a picture of the bad guy in it. Somehow she knows this is a confidential FBI folder. She knows that there is a picture in here of this bad guy and just says, hey, go ahead and have a look in there. But that's beside the point. So Colt flips it open and he sees the picture that he originally saw earlier of his grandpa and his grandma with the hand cut out. But we see the hand is Hugo Snyder, okay? So it all comes into place now that Hugo Snyder was a business associate of Maury. So his dad has this file. I think this is what I'm trying to say. His dad has this file, this case file. So his dad would know.
So his dad knows they were friends or business partners.
It says business associate on it. Yes.
Yeah.
So and that's what happens here is now Colt goes into the room with Rocky and Tum Tum and tells them what happens. And they want to protect their grandpa because they think if their dad finds out that grandpa was friends with Snyder, that they won't do karate anymore. So how does that make sense? The dad must have seen the file at some point. None of that makes sense.
That makes no sense.
Are you with me here, people? This doesn't make sense.
Like or he is just that bad of an FBI agent that he saw his father-in-law. He saw a picture of his father-in-law with the person that he is chasing, the terrorist that he is trying to capture, and he just didn't piece it together. He was like, he just didn't know.
Snyder is buddies, and Snyder knows that Maury is related to Sam, right? So he knows there's a connection. So you would think that Sam Douglas would know that too at some point. How does he not know any of this stuff? This man's an FBI agent. He's got the files. You think this would already be like he would have known all of this before. So that's the only reason I could think that maybe that Sam doesn't really like Grandpa is that he actually knew about this past before. But then again, the mom must have known about this too, right? Or does she not know that her dad was basically a criminal? What is going on here?
I have no idea. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the more you look into it, the layers, it just gets so you could just go on and on about it. There's so much of it that just doesn't even make sense. And like I said before, it's so unnecessarily complicated. So the parents have left and the kids, the three boys, are in their bedroom, and downstairs, or actually outside, these three surfer idiots, Fester and his two goons, are in the van, and they're trying to come up with a plan, a ruse to get into the house. And they see a pizza delivery man just a few houses down, and they have the bright idea to one of them dress up as a pizza delivery person, and the other two hide behind him and knock on the door to say that they've got a pizza delivery. And this babysitter goes over, she opens the door, she gets pied in the face by this giant pizza. They immediately just chuck her in the closet and jam her in there with a chair under the doorknob. Okay. So, oh my, it's like how irresponsible, this all falls on the parents, because like how irresponsible parents do you have to be where you are an FBI agent, you're leaving your kids with a babysitter for the night, and she's dumb enough to open the door for a pizza delivery person when you haven't even ordered any pizza.
I don't know. I love that part when she's just like, who is it? And he's like, pizza mom. And she's like, we didn't order any pizza. Just how she puts that emphasis on pizza. I love that. I love that part. Well, he threatened to TP her house, right? So what are you going to do? She's responsible for the house. It's an FBI agent's house. You can't have it TP'd.
Colt saw all of that. He was just out of his bedroom, happened to be peeking downstairs. And he's gone back to the room. The three boys know that they're under attack by three men with guns. So they ponder, what is the right thing to do? They think about calling their FBI agent father. But then they decide that this is really an excellent opportunity to show them how useful their ninja skills are so that their dad will allow them to keep training with their grandfather. So they decide to fight off these three men themselves.
Yeah, this is a terrible idea.
Yeah, they put on their karate gear. They each have a mask and gi suit that their grandfather gave them earlier. And now it's time for some shenanigans.
This is where we get Home Alone, but a little karate. This is the meat and potatoes of the movie. This is where all of the funniest, most glorious parts of the movie happen, is the next like 20, 30 minutes of this movie here, because they are just now going to terrorize these three idiot surfer guys. It sounds like Rocky is going to prep some stuff here. They're about to split up and hide, but before they do that, we get this great scene where they're sort of going over their plan of attack, so to speak, and they have a little bat light that lights up every time that their mom would come up the stairs. This little red light would beep, 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 would bleep, and they would know, so they pretend that they're sleeping. And so now they're getting a warning that the bad guys are coming up the stairs. So what happens is they hide now. And so there's so many great little clips that happen in this movie here of just between the surfer idiots and the kids that I had to clip a bunch of stuff. I couldn't just play one thing. I couldn't, because there's so many things I want to play that I figured we needed to put it all together and have a little medley. So you can just have a little idea of what kind of happens with the surfer guys.
Hey, dude, what time does school get out? I don't know. I never stayed to the end. Dude! Where are those little boogers? I was a little booger. Where would I be? Mom and Dad's room. We don't want to hurt you. We just want to kidnap you.
Oh, man.
You know what I love about that is the one where he's like, we're just gonna kidnap you. I like all this like really childish type music, like do 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 do, and it's like three guys walking around with guns trying to kidnap these three kids. It's like, this movie. Have you ever seen those videos on YouTube where they'll show scenes from Friends, but they'll take out all the laugh tracks? And it looks really creepy.
Yes.
I would like to see this movie without any music, just silent.
That's a great idea, actually. You're right. This might look incredibly violent and creepy at that point. You're right. And because it's funny that you mentioned the music. I really thought about that too. The music is kind of wacky and it's kind of cheesy. It almost sounds like Are You Afraid of the Dark or Ernest kind of music. But at the same time, it kind of reminds me of like Puppet Master, like some like kind of B horror movie music. That's what it sounds like. It's weird. It's really weird.
Sometimes when there's scenes with bad guys, it sounds like like I said earlier, from the horror movie Halloween.
The whole vibe from this movie is just oozes 90s to me.
Oh, this is 90s. Oh, yeah.
Like you said, the kidnappers have all kind of gone out of the room now, and the kids have split up. So the kidnappers walk around upstairs, and Colt sort of gets himself ready in the room that his parents are doing a little renovation on. And he makes a noise, and he sort of suckers these surfer dudes into the room to come after him.
This whole scene could be, to me, is just like it's a Three Stooges act. Like this whole thing in here in this room, like they're just accidentally headbutting each other and punching each other, not unknowingly. Like they don't know what's going on. They're just confused and hitting each other and bonking each other on the head.
That's a really good way to explain that. That's totally what it is. You're right. This is like complete slapstick kind of comedy. Cole comes out of the shadows and he's got two little 2x4s and he gives them taps on the head, and the two guys turn and they just punch Festin right in the mouth. Oh my God. Every time that scene happens, just like burst out laughing. I love that scene.
So Cole gets the better of them in that room and he exits really quick. And as he's about to exit, these two brothers warn him that they've dumped a whole bunch of dish soap detergent all over the floor. So he zips across the floor. And then they're all standing there, and the three bad guys come out. They walk, and they all just slip and fall on their asses on the floor. And then Rocky stays upstairs. Colt and Tum Tum run downstairs and dump a bunch of jelly beans halfway down in the stairwell. And they go to the bottom of the steps. So the two bad guys, not Fester. Fester stays upstairs, and the two other bad guys run downstairs. They slip on the jelly beans. And then the Colt and Tum Tum proceed to like just throw in Frisbee-like fashion. They're throwing CDs at them, just whipping them at their face.
Yeah, they're just frisbeeing these things off these guys' face. I love it. It's hilarious. They're just giving it to them, just whing, fing, 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 like ninja stars, just hitting them right in the face, giving them just the hardest time, showing them no mercy.
So this other part, I can totally understand why parents may have complained about like some of the use of weapons and whatnot in this movie. So upstairs, Rocky is beating the crap out of Fester. Just basically tossing him onto the bed, kicking him in the butt, punching him in the face,
strangling him.
Yeah, while this is going on, he's like just has all these ties that he's wrapping around his neck and his limbs and stuff. And so they get to this point where Fester is crawling out of the room and Rocky has the rope tied around his neck, and Rocky hops over the railing down to the first floor, but is hanging by this rope that he's tied to Fester's neck. So Fester has slid through the rungs of the railing, and he's hanging over and has all of Rocky's weight choking him. And then Rocky pulls himself up and ties the rest of the rope to the railing, and Fester is stuck there choking. This makes no sense as to why he's choking, why he doesn't just get up. He's acting like he is like actually just strung there, like he can't do anything, but all he needs to do is stand up.
The fact that he like still has a head, this kid like almost decapitated him, man. It's like, that's like a little 90-pound kid just dropped himself off your neck, basically. Used your head as a bungee cord. That's what he did. Just like merciless. He almost like guillotined this guy. It's crazy that like, it's insane.
So now we go to the kitchen where Tom Tom has prepared a whole bunch of, I guess you'd call them like pepper bombs and stuff. He basically just raids his mom's spice rack and uses a bunch of coffee filters and uses those as like bombs full of different spices. Yeah, so these two guys that are walking in, they're getting faces full of paprika and a whole bunch of stuff, and they're reacting like they've just been bear maced.
Yeah, that can't feel good, I guess. Like if you got any kind of powder to the eye, especially if it is kind of peppery, you know, it's gotta hurt. Maybe there's dried chilies in there. We don't really know. Maybe it's ghost pepper. I don't really know. Maybe it can't be good. Maybe it's actual acid he threw in his face too. You know, he put a little bit of that old Dutch seasoning in there.
The kids have one more trick up their sleeves. They have prepared a drink that Tum Tum is going to present to these two bad guys, and they're trying to get the spices out of their eyes and stuff. And he goes, "This drink tastes good." And I don't know why he says it like that. Like I didn't over exaggerate that. That's how the kid says it. And he slams the drink down and runs away. And you know, these two just go gung ho on drinking it. And we already know though that they have filled this extra large pop, full of X-Lax.
Instant diarrhea. I love that line in this movie. It's so weird too that these guys got just like pepper bombed in the face. They've had CDs thrown at them. You know, they've threatened to hit them with all kinds of crazy stuff here. And somehow they think that these kids are just going to come in with a little Pepsi as a peace offering or something, and it's not going to be sabotaged. Like, and then why are you also really thirsty too? Because you got pepper bombed in the face. That really doesn't, to me, make any sense. Why would you not just drink the water? Or like, we're also taking a time out here. Be like, you should just grab this kid and smash his face off the counter. Realistically, is what should have happened, or you could have shot them. Like,
all three of these guys have guns.
Yeah. Yes. And they're all adults. This should not be this hard. It apparently is. Like, one guy would have like came up to them, like Colt would have been like, "Hi-ya!" and punched him in the shin. It wouldn't have hurt, and he would have shot him right in the leg. And then that would have been the end of it. These kids would have just crapped their pants and just surrendered immediately. But no, they're going to drink the diarrhea cup.
So the last phase of the boys' plan is to go and to do something in their dad's office. So all three boys go in there, and the three bad guys regroup, and they decide to go into their bedroom to find their fatal flaw. Rocky and Emily live side by side, and their windows are aligned with each other. And They each have a tin can in their bedroom with a string going across it. However, this one looks a lot nicer than the ones I've ever seen, and I'm not even sure if this really works. But they have a fully functional homemade walkie-talkie unit out of tin cans, and the three bad guys have discovered this.
The window's closed, so how does this work? How does this little can work? Because doesn't even really look like there's a string on it at all either. Like
I was just gonna say that
you kind of get the sense of what they're supposed to be, but it doesn't make any real world sense though. It's just a cup sitting on a little arm, and it's just kind of talking into it. And somehow he's able to communicate next door. We assume that they live adjacent to each other, and they're able to communicate through these little tin can phone things. We just need to play a clip here. Young Emily now seems to think that it's Rocky who has summoned her to the house. And when she opens the door, she's going to get a bit of a different surprise here.
Anybody here? Rocky? Mrs. Douglas?
these three guys are hiding behind a tree behind the door as she opens it, and they're all just like bursting at the seams, trying to contain their laughter. It's hilarious. They're like the dumbest kidnappers you'd ever seen. They're more childish than the child that they're trying to kidnap.
It's like, I think like your great idea was like not even that you're gonna hide in a closet or you're gonna just wait in another room off of the wing there. You were gonna sit behind this fern that doesn't even look like it could disguise one of you people. There's three guys huddled up in this corner, giggling with just a half a leaf on one guy's face. Like it is. If you don't want to watch this movie, you at least need to watch this one scene. Like that is the funniest moment in this movie, next to potentially one other scene that comes up here later. But like, oh my God, I love that moment. This is just another reason to love this movie.
So now they have Emily, and the three boys are in the office, and they knock on the door, and the three boys are ready to fight them because they don't know what's out there. They just think that it's these three guys by themselves. And the way they knock, the way they present themselves is hilarious. So you can hear them through the door. They're like, "You got to let us in. We've got a surprise for you." And then they bust open the door so hard that it swings open and hits something and just slams back in their face and closes. But they're laughing like and giggling the whole time. It's really funny. It's one of those things that even to describe this in an audio fashion is really hard to do justice. I recommend watching that scene as well. It's like 3 seconds long.
It's just a picture frame on the one side that just drops off as the door slams shut. That is like comedy gold. They really did a good job with a lot of the physical gags and stuff like that in this movie too.
Now the boys have been got because all three surfer dudes are each pointing their handgun at Emily. It's quite a sight in a children's movie to see. So just as this is happening, the X-Lax is kicking in the other two guys. So they each give their gun to Fester, and they bail and run for the bathroom.
This is great sight gag now where Fester is like, he's got his arm sort of holding Emily's head in between his two arms, and he's got three guns that he's now trying to hold in balance.
So Tum Tum is above him on a mounted boar's head, and as Fester looks up, Tum Tum hits him in the face with a tennis racket. And now Fester has been foiled. So now we go to the bathroom. They open the door and Hammer is sitting on the toilet. He's having a rough time. And
he's about to have a worse time right now.
Colt is disgusted at the smell in the bathroom. And then he picks up a plunger and shoves it in Hammer's face.
Oh.
And then they both give him a turnaround elbow in the face. And Hammer is out cold. And he says, "Thank you for not hitting me in the stomach." Then we go to the other bathroom. This one's great. This is some ninja martial arts right here. So Tum Tum bursts through the door with holding the boar's head, the stuffed boar's head that he was hiding on top of a few moments ago. And he rams through the door into the bathroom and just starts goring the other buddy here.
Marcus.
Yeah, Marcus. So now they think that everything is all right. And they start hearing a tapping. They realize it's coming from the closet, and the babysitter is still there. And they open the door, and she is in there covered in pizza. I like how she didn't even bother to try and clean herself up or stand up or anything. She just lays there pathetic, covered in pizza. And Tum Tum proceeds to scold her.
I hope you save some pizza for us.
That's pretty good.
I love this kid. The line is amazing. It's like just gold.
Everything seems okay until this huge baddie henchman walks in behind them, and they don't even bother trying to fight him. Or actually, Colt tries to give him a kick, but the guy just grabs Colt by the ankle and hangs him upside down and dangles him. We cut to an hour later. The FBI and the cops are all over this because, their father is an FBI agent. So Emily runs up to her mother, who's standing outside, and hands her a note and then runs away. She says, I was told to give this to you, and doesn't tell her anything. Like, shouldn't she have told the cops that these three guys came and kidnapped their sons? She just hands them the note. But I guess she might be afraid too. She's going through a lot tonight.
Yeah, she's like 12 as well too. And, Rocky loves Emily and all that stuff. So maybe not. Here's something I was thinking too. So again, the whole reason we've got Fester Festin, Marcus, Dude Bro, and Hammer, the Metallica lover, showing up to kidnap these kids is because the FBI is watching Hugo Snyder. This guy showed up to the house of the FBI agent anyways, just said, whatever, I'm just going to show up with my guys, and I'm just going to go there now on the random chance that I guess they're still there. Maybe he lost faith in the three idiots. Maybe it's been after midnight at this point. I don't really know. They don't really explain that. But I thought the whole thing was he was just supposed to keep a low profile. And he literally goes to this guy's house and kidnaps him.
Yeah, if you were going to do that anyways, then why even bother sending these three idiots?
Yeah, and that also kind of negates the last 30 minutes of the movie we just saw. There was this movie could legitimately be probably 40 minutes long if you just cut that whole thing out.
Out of nowhere, just when all hope is lost, Grandpa is standing there like a silhouette, a ninja in a ninja outfit, like a full ninja outfit attire. And he just marches up and he's like, I'm going to go and get them. You guys stay here. Don't worry about this. I've got this under control. And I'm thinking, man, this guy looks like Grandpa's got dementia again. Like he's like coming out. These FBI agents, all these cops are around. This old man in this ninja outfit comes out and he's like, you guys leave it to me. I'm going to go and get them.
It's remarkable he didn't get shot by anybody when this first happened, because he shows up in like a windbreaker over his head. That's what this ninja suit really looks like. It's just like this windbreaker that he's wearing, and he just kind of creeps up out of the darkness here. And he kind of lets everybody know that he's going to go. He said, give me 1 hour. I'm going to try to sneak in there on the DL, on the QT, and I'll see if I can save the boys, and then you guys can come on in. That's sort of the plan here, it looks like. Grandpa's off to save the day. And just as fast as he showed up, he's out of there. He's out of there right now. So they turn around, he's gone.
Just like Batman.
That's right. Just like Batman. That's a good point. So now we're back at Snyder's floating little headquarters here. And the boys are unloaded from the car, and they're taken inside of the ship. And we finally get to see what is going on in here, it looks like. And there's like containers everywhere, a bunch of like steel drums and stuff. I don't know what's happening here, but it's like this is kind of almost what is happening in the scene from Wayne's World when he opens up the door and there's guys being trained like in a James Bond movie, and they're like, what's that? And he's like, I don't know, I just want to open a door, and there's guys being trained like a James Bond movie. That's kind of what's happening right now, I feel like, except they're ninjas. There's just a bunch of people doing somersaults and flips and swinging swords, and a bunch of guys all in the line kind of like doing katas, and they're doing punches and they're swinging around and doing flips, and the kids are like, hey, this looks like Grandpa's style, right? And the guy's like, yeah, like it should.
Yeah, they recognize it.
Yeah, right. Which is like, well, I mean, like, duh, like, come on, we already knew this at this point. You've explained this a million times. We know Grandpa apparently works with this guy. But again, so here's kind of another thought, just to bring this back again.
I know exactly what you're gonna say.
If they're being trained in the same style that their grandpa taught them, and these guys were adults, why can they not beat up these little kids? They know the moves. They know the counter moves. They're probably further along than these guys. These guys are probably closer to being black belts than these little kids.
And why does Snyder need Maury to train them if they're already doing it and doing his style?
It's the same moves. What do you need? This old man to come in here and do this? They were like, hey, can we get Egg Shen from Big Trouble in Little China in here? Like, that's what we need to help put this together. Not these other guys who taught him the exact same moves.
Now we see Mori Tanaka in full wind jacket gear. He's sneaking onto the boat. He climbs up this rope, like one of the front ropes that would anchor the boat to the wharf. And it's so bright. Like, I feel like anybody looking around would see like this. Hey, you guys see that guy that's like climbing on the rope onto the boat?
Okay, right? Yeah, he's literally in a spotlight at the front of the boat. There's a light just like right on him the whole time. This is what would take you a minute to get up this rope. And there's just guys walking everywhere. And somehow they did not see this old man doing like a Naruto run up these ropes. Like, what the hell is going on here? Again, while Grandpa's out there in his windbreaker, smacking heads and knocking people out and whatever else, the kids are locked in a cell and they're trying to figure out how are we going to get out of here. And Rocky reminds them that a ninja uses everything around him to his advantage. And he looks around, he sees a phone on the wall and he goes, hey, this is what I'm going to do. He picks up the phone and he hits down the little plunger a couple times. And eventually he gets patched through to someone on the other end. And it's some bad guy. And he's got a little hockey mask on. For some reason, all these ninjas wear hockey masks. That really didn't make any sense to me either. They all have wrist guards like the rollerblading and stuff. And they wear like hockey masks. And this is more like a ball hockey league.
Yeah, and this guy's job, like this ninja's job, is like a switchboard operator, and he's in full hockey gear mask. It's ridiculous.
This guy's sitting there answering calls with a hockey mask on. Just think about that. Wrap your head around that for 2 seconds.
Ready to fight in full ninja gear, ready to fight at any moment.
Yeah, do you think he petitioned? He's like, do you think I could just take the hockey mask off? It's a lot easier. I could actually talk to them. Like, no, you keep that damn hockey mask on. So Rocky's on the other end of the line. He disguises his voice, pretends to be a guard. And he gets this guy to call him back. So hockey mask guy decides to call their cell. Rocky then tricks the guard to come in and answer the phone. And he knocks him out with said phone during this time. And so the boys now escape and they're out running around the boat. They're just kind of running from room to room fighting a bunch of ninjas. Ninjas will come in, they'll fight the ninjas with whatever's around them. They'll beat them with like a pipe or something, some like chains, stuff like that. Maybe like a wrench. And then they'll run to the next room and they'll fight someone. They happen across this guy with the sword. And this almost reminds me of a couple of things. It reminds me of Batman. And this kind of also reminds me of Indiana Jones as well. Because this guy is all painted up. His face is all like this white sort of ghost paint he's got going on here. And he's got a sword. And he starts doing these crazy sword moves. And he's flipping the sword around. And he's like, he does this weird sexual thing that I thought, I was like, what the hell is this? This is a kid's movie. This guy like licks his sword blade. He just kind of pulls it out like,
oh, you found that sexual, did you?
I thought that was weird. I thought it seemed a little sexual to me. It's like, it's a kid's movie. Like, why is this guy licking a sword?
I thought it was like the equivalent, do you know, like in Bruce Lee movies when an enemy bleeds, he tastes his blood. Yeah,
but there was no one cut at this point. He's just licking a sword in front of a bunch of like 12-year-olds.
I don't know why I'm defending that. It's totally stupid. I know.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's just a grown adult in white face paint licking a sword. Just put that in your heads, folks. Okay?
It's creepy. Now we go to this training area. It's like a giant dojo. And they proceed to kick the crap out of a whole bunch more henchmen. Like, these ninjas are useless. Like, these are the worst henchmen I've seen in any movie. I don't think they actually do any damage at all in this movie, except for when they flawlessly attack the FBI at the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, that was a bit of a sneak attack. You're right. Because like one guy too, he like Tarzan swings in and completely just misses Tum Tum and eats it and just hits that wall and he's just like peeled off of it.
So now the big baddie has come out. I don't know if this guy actually has a name in the movie, but he's a big beefy ninja, I guess. And the boys look like they're at a loss. However, Grandpa shows up. He's above them on like a balcony viewing area type thing. I guess they're in like the hold of the boat. He tells them to light them up, boys, light them up, like the dummy that he taught them how to hit earlier. So they proceed to, kick him in the armpits and the neck, in the side of the head, in the legs, and then finally a good blow to the groin. They just like, I think in our last episode, someone was taken to Dick Kick City. We're going there again, and this guy is defeated.
Doesn't matter how big you are, you're going down.
So now the boys, they feel like they've got everything taken care of until every ninja around them takes out like an assault rifle. So there's like, they are like circled to like no end. There's probably like, to even guess, there's probably like 60 guns pointed on these kids. If everybody were to shoot at once, everybody in the room would die.
Yeah, they're at least in a semicircle. So a couple guys would get hit in the crossfire. Absolutely. Also, too, like, why are you doing karate if you guys just want to use guns? Why not just do target practice? You know, get good at one thing.
Now it's time for Grandpa to enter. He does a big long hi-ya, and he does a flip over the balcony. I would hazard to say this is probably like a 40 or 50 foot drop that this 65-year-old man does a flip over and lands on his seat next to his boys, next to his grandkids. And suddenly they're all like, hi-ya, and, you know, they vogue a karate pose again, as if all the guns went away. Like now suddenly they're just like happy. Also, too, like the grandpa just totally let them fight another guy who's like 3 times their height and weight, right? Like he could have come down at any point apparently and help save the day, but he just stood there like a complete lemming and let them fight this another adult. So now it's come to a head where Mori Tanaka challenges Snyder to a one-on-one fight here in the dojo, right here, right now. Winner takes all the kids. and that's where we're at. So we have a one-on-one fight. And right before they start, they have a little group huddle. And they do the 4 strings again, where they each put their hands in, you know, kind of like 3 musketeers, all for one for all type deal. And Tum Tum gives Grandpa a handful of jelly beans for good luck. Grandpa puts them in his pocket. And he decides that it is time to fight. And at the very beginning, we see Grandpa's stunt double kicking Snyder's ass. Like he is just throwing him all over the place. And Snyder does kind of get the better of him. They go back and forth for a little while. They're using weapons and whatnot, like swords. And then at one point, Snyder gets sneaky and takes a pepper bomb. Might be paprika. I don't know. They call it pepper in this scene. Snyder throws a pepper bomb in Grandpa's face, and now Grandpa can't see. He's at a loss, and he is getting his butt kicked. Yeah, like this guy just has like Rick Sanchez pocket sand. Like where the hell did he have a pepper bomb from? He just walks around with them, like he's like, oh, hey, Maury's here. Let me just load up on pepper bombs just in case I get into a fight with him. Like where the hell did this come from? I think every ninja has a pepper bomb. It's like the Boy Scouts. You're always prepared, right? A good ninja is always prepared. So it looks like Grandpa is about to be finished off. The kids are sad. Everyone's head is hung low. And Snyder decides to taunt a little bit. And he goes over and grabs Grandpa by the collar of his gi and lifts him up and starts shaking him in the air, just laughing at him like, haha, pathetic old man, I've won. And he's shaking him. And he starts laughing with his mouth wide open. Ha, ha. Grandpa reaches into his pocket and grabs the jelly beans and shoves them in Snyder's mouth. And Snyder chokes on the jelly beans. Now it's Grandpa's turn to get revenge and make a comeback. And he does. He kicks the crap out of Snyder. And he finishes him off. And it would have been a finished fight. However, Snyder decides that it's not over. And he goes over and grabs an AK-47 or like some kind of an assault rifle. And is about to shoot Grandpa and the 3 kids until the FBI, an FBI sniper, just like shoots Snyder in the heart. Or at least you hear a gunshot and he grabs his heart. You don't really see any kind of blood or anything like that because this is a children's movie. So anyways, the FBI yells, freeze. And everybody, like there's a ton of FBI agents hanging over the top with rifles pointed at everybody. All the ninjas surrender and it looks as though Snyder is dead. You know, in this movie, like Rocky and Colt they're the strong guys. They're obviously the leaders. One guy is sort of the calm, rational one. The other guy is the sort of the angry, pull the trigger guy. And Tum Tum, it seems like he doesn't really know martial arts. Like in real life, it really seems like the kid actually didn't know any martial arts, but they were just
play in the movie. And it seems like his special power is just that he's kind of a fat kid, but he's not a fat kid. He walks around with candy all the time, and it just gets him out of situations, you know? And that's kind of what happened here. Just because this kid liked a lot of candy, he saved the day.
That's
That's how this movie gets tied together, you know? It's a absolute Home Alone ending.
and everybody's happy. The kids ask their father if he will at least spend the rest of the night with them. And he's like, I don't know. And then his other agent buddy comes over and says, hey, we got to clean up this giant crime scene. He's like, you know what? I think I'm going to take the night off. Because now he's going to decide to be a good father and spend some time with his kids. Rightfully so. But it's funny that he chose this night. Like, he looks like a bad father and he looks like a terrible FBI agent. Like, this whole thing just went down. His 3 children were involved. And he's like, I'm taking the night off.
Yeah, also, too, I'm sure you probably have to, debrief everybody. You'd have to go talk to the police and the FBI and be like, what happened, guys? Can you run us through the night? I'm sure you could go to, Chuck E. Cheese if you want still, but you have to kind of wait, right? Plus, it's also, it was Snyder said, get these kids before midnight. So I'm assuming this has got to be close. This is at least midnight, if not 1 o'clock later on. Is Cece's Pizza Buffet open at 2 o'clock in the morning, wherever the hell they live? I don't know. Doesn't make any sense. Also, too, the dad seems kind of happy. Like, he's happy that the kids are, obviously he's happy they're alive, but he seems kind of happy that this ninja training proved useful. However, he should be pissed because they were right the first time when they were like, let's call Emily on the little can phone and she'll call the police and they'll come over here in 2 seconds. That is what should have happened. Right? But he's like, hey, no worries. I'm glad you did all that ninja training and almost got yourself shot and everything. Hey, let's go for pizza.
So that is the end of Three Ninjas.
So Tim, let me ask you then, now we've gone through this movie a little bit, what are your thoughts on this movie?
I enjoyed watching this again a lot. It's probably been a solid 20 years or so since I've seen it. And I didn't remember a lot of it, but it started coming back to me as the movie went on. And by the end of it, I actually did laugh out loud a couple times as an adult. It's all really, really, really stupid. I wouldn't go and suggest to my friends to watch this or anything, but and I'm not even sure if I would suggest for children to watch this, but even still, it's definitely an enjoyable movie to watch. It's kind of a time capsule of the early 90s as well. So yeah, I thought it was great. And I also think that these kids as actors are how good they are is really overlooked. So all in all, this movie had really good intentions, I think, but I think it missed the mark in a lot of ways. But we're also 25 years later going back and looking at this, so things are always kind of look a little bit more funny in the past.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I personally love this movie. This is, again, something I've watched probably about 100 times in my lifetime. And I just put this on every so often because I think it's so classic. It's definitely a good slice of nostalgia for me, at least, because I grew up watching this and Ninja Turtles and Ninja Turtles 2. And I just watched those tapes constantly. And I think I broke them all because I just watched them so much. So to just always revisit that little stuff. And again, you're right. The kids, I think they're actually really funny actors and they did really good jobs. I don't know why they really didn't have another career as far as other movies. Maybe they just got known as the Three Ninja Kids and that's it just kind of got stale after a bit. But I don't know why they still weren't able to branch off in other stuff because this seemed pretty successful. And they seem like pretty good actors. They have pretty good ninja moves, little karate moves. These kids were all right for martial arts, I'd say. The comedic timing for a lot of stuff was good. And it is a slapstick comedy. You know what I mean? There's so many things about this that I really love. And we even talk about the one part, just when Grandpa is in the boat there and he fakes the guy out with he does a fake little karate chop like this. And the guy turns around and runs into a valve. I'll die laughing every time I watch that scene. There's so many things in this that I see this every time and it's still got that's almost that same punch. It doesn't have it because I've watched it so many times, but it's almost got that same punch. And I love it. Yeah, I guess, this is definitely not gonna be a movie for everybody. Definitely fun to go over this and review this because I'll talk about any of these all day. This was a better pick, I think, because the other ones kind of weren't as good. This when they go to Japan is kind of cool, but it's still kind of goofy and some of the kids aren't the same, so it's okay, but it's not It's not this movie. This movie was like, I feel like they caught almost lightning in a bottle with this one.
This movie is Ernest, Scared Stupid, and the sequels are Ernest Goes to Africa.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, Ernest Rides Again, something like that. Where you're like, this is not done. Put it back in. Like, this is a half-baked movie. But I think that's a good spot to leave it for us right now.
I think so.
Before we go, we'll just let you know again, please, you can follow us on Instagram. That's at Good Times Bad Movies Podcast. We're also on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. We also have a YouTube channel. So check out our YouTube channel and you can see these lovely mugs from time to time and check in on what we're doing because we're always putting up new clips, new little videos, new little shorts all the time. So please leave us a review on one of the little podcast pages too, because that really helps for engagement and reviews and searches. So we'll leave it there and we'll just let Fester Festin see us out here on this one.
Last one out closes the door.